that is what this campaign is about, and that's what I'm leveling with you about. I need your help, obviously, to win here, the primary on February 9th. I need your help to win the Democratic nomination. But if elected president, I will need your help the day after the election. Because as everybody who has ever studied history understands, real change never comes from the top down. It always comes from the bottom on up. Lyndon Johnson did not sign the Voting Rights Act because he was a wonderful human being. He signed it because millions of people, black and white, said segregation and the denial of people's right to vote in America is unacceptable. It's got to change. And millions of people demanded change. He signed the bill. Women's rights. The struggle for women's rights did not come about because a few people on top thought it was a great idea. It came about because women for over 100 years walked on picket lines, sometimes died, fighting for the right to vote, fighting to make sure that in our country, women were not going to be second-class citizens. That's how women fought. Workers' rights, the right to negotiate a contract, came about because workers put their lives on the line to form unions. If we were sitting in this room 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and somebody stood up and said, you know, I think gay marriage will be something that will be legal in 50 states in this country, other people would have said, what are you smoking? Which raises a whole other issue. But gay rights and gay marriage came about because the gay community, supported by the straight community, said, you know what? We don't want a discriminatory society. If people want to love somebody of their own gender, that is their right to do that. Let's not stop that. Millions of people said that. And that's where we are today. And what is so amazing about these things, if you talk to young people, not necessarily their grandparents, but if you talk to young people, the idea of gay marriage is a non-issue. What are you talking about? That is how change comes about. So when I talk about a political revolution, I'm talking about a tradition of the American people saying enough is enough. It is not acceptable. We have got to bring about change, and that's what this campaign is about. And when I talk about the major issues facing this country, I often start off dealing with one issue that disturbs me very, very much. And that is the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality in America today. And what that means is that it is not acceptable to me. It is not moral. It is not good economics. It is not sustainable when the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. It is not acceptable to me, and I think the vast majority of the American people, that the 20 wealthiest people in this country, 20 people, so we got up front here, own, not them though, unless I'm very mistaken, 20 wealthiest people in America now own more wealth than the bottom 150 million Americans, half of our society. Now, what I talk about very often is a rigged economy. And what that means is the average American is often working longer hours for lower wages, and almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. Now, let me give you a crystal clear example of what a rigged economy looks like. Turns out that the wealthiest family in America is the Walton family of Walmart. Walton family alone one family owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. One family. Turns out also that at a time when we hear a lot of discussion about welfare and welfare abuse, it turns out that the Walton family, the wealthiest family in America, is the biggest recipient of welfare of anybody in our country. Wealthiest family receives more welfare than any family in America. Many of Walmart's employees are forced to get Medicaid, they are forced to get subsidized housing, they are forced to get food stamps. And you know who pays for that Medicaid, the food stamps, and the subsidized housing? You do! You pay to help Walmart's employees stay alive because the wealthiest family in this country refuses to pay them living wages with decent benefits. So I say to the Walton family, the wealthiest family in America, get off the welfare train, start paying your workers decent wages and decent benefits. But that is what the rigged economy is about. People in the middle class subsidizing the wealthiest family in the country. But it's not just wealth, it's income. Here is the issue that is driving the American people crazy. That's why they're angry. In Vermont, in New Hampshire, we have people who are working not one job, they're working two jobs, maybe they're working three jobs, trying to cobble together enough income and health care to take care of their families. Why is it that when technology is exploding, why is it that when almost every worker in America is producing more, why is it that people are working longer hours for lower wages? Why is it that 58% of all new income generated today is going to the top 1%? That is not what America is supposed to be about. So when people ask me, why are the American people angry? That's why they're angry. They're angry because they're working so hard. We work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. Japanese are very hard-working people. We work longer hours than they do. And yet all over this country, people are worried that their kids will have a lower standard of living than our generation has. So the bottom line is, when we talk about a rigged economy, is it is unacceptable to me that we have economic policies designed to make the very, very rich richer, while so many other Americans are struggling just to put food on the table. That, my friends, has got to change, and that's what a Sanders administration will be all about. And when we talk about the economy, we've got to talk about the issue uppermost on people's minds, and that's jobs. You read in the newspapers every month a government report. Government report says official unemployment is 5%. What's wrong with that report? What is it missing? It's missing people who have given up looking for work. It is missing people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. Real unemployment is not 5%, it is 9.9%. And what is worse is youth unemployment is off the charts. I asked some economists to do a study for me. This is what they found. For kids 17 to 20 who graduated high school, if they are white, 33% unemployed, underemployed. Latino, 36%, African American, 51%. Now, if anybody in this room thinks there is not a connection between high youth unemployment and the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, you would be mistaken. So here is a radical idea. You want a radical idea? What about investing in jobs and education for our kids rather than jails and incarceration? And when we ask, why is it that people are working such long hours? The answer is not complicated. People's wages in this country are much, much too low. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. You can do the arithmetic as well as I can. Forget 7 1/4. Go to $8, $9, $10. Multiply it by 40, 50 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. You do not have enough income to live in dignity for one person, let alone raise a family. It is time to say loudly and clearly that in this great country, if somebody works full-time, that person should not be living in poverty. We've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour over the next few years. When we talk about decent wages and fair wages, I hope that every man in this room will stand with the women to end the discrimination in pay for women and fight for pay equity for women. There is no rational economic reason why women are making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. The only explanation is old-fashioned sexism, and together we are going to change that. Now here in New Hampshire, obviously you have a whole lot of politicians running through your state. I don't know whether to envy you or to feel sorry for you. But that is the reality. You play a unique role in American presidential politics. Some of the folks who will be running around this state, some of my Republican colleagues, will talk about family values. Family values. They just love families. But you know, and I know, what they mean when they talk about family values. What they are saying is that no woman in this room, no woman in this state or in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they are saying is we should defund Planned Parenthood. I think we should increase funding for Planned Parenthood. Turns out that, if I'm not mistaken, today is the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. So let me go on record as telling you, somebody who's 100% voting, pro-choice voting record, that I will be vigorous in defending a woman's right to choose. And when Republicans talk about family values, what they are also saying to our gay brothers and sisters is that they should not have the right to marry. I disagree with that. I will not shock anybody in this room to suggest that quite often in politics there is a lot of hypocrisy. I know I shock you when I say that. But on this issue of a woman's right to choose, I think hypocrisy reaches the highest levels. And that is, you have Republicans going around the country saying, we hate the government. We want to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, all these terrible government programs. We want to get the government out of your lives, except when it comes to a woman's right to choose. Then they love the government. When we talk about the issues facing the American people, we talk about real unemployment being close to 10%, youth unemployment being off the charts. I want to see legislation passed in Washington